Hi there, it's Rich again, giving you a quick verdict on my Mazda MX5, or I should say imported Eunos Roadster 1.8. The little MX5 has been around for over 3 decades now and is on the 4th generation of the model. With each generation the cars have become bigger and heavier and, like most cars, easier to live with on a daily basis, but removing the pure simplistic nature of the original. But that's not to say you can't drive a Mark 1 MX5 as a daily, because you can. Remember, this is a generation before clever and expensive electronics, when Japan were famous for building cars that were reliable and could drive to the moon and back. And today, the simplicity and reliability makes owning one of these 25-year-old classics that bit more tempting. I'm not much of a heavy DIYer, but the MX5 doesn't worry me like other cars in my garage. The simple, no-flair approach of the MX5 is really what attracted me to this car. When you first see a Mark 1, or should I say NA in Mazda speak, it's the small size of the car that really shows how cars have evolved and grown over time. What the car managed to do is do everything well enough, without ever doing anything brilliantly. It's just big enough for a 6-foot guy like me to get into. Its boot is just big enough for some weekly shopping or a small bag. And its engine is just enough to make okay progress. What Mazda created when they built the MX5 was a small, compact, lightweight, do-it-all car. With even the latest Mark 1s now well over 20 years old, they're right in the middle of becoming modern-day classics. The first disappointment came from the engine. Either in 1.6 or 1.8 litre form, they are lively engines that rev and pull well enough to make brisk progress, but aren't especially quick. Don't be tempted to pitch it against any modern day car, because you could find yourself red-faced at the traffic lights. Oh, and don't buy a late 1.6 which had a detuned engine and definitely one to avoid. And after the disappointment with the acceleration, you come to the steering, supposedly a high point of the MX5. In truth, it's another slightly disappointing experience. You can certainly provoke the rear to lose grip on tight turns in the wet, even with the modest engine output. And it is entertaining, but not what I'd call out of this world. Still seems a little vague, a bit numb. And the driving position isn't great if you're the wrong side of 6 feet. The seats are low, but so is the steering wheel. And I drive with my knees up either side of the steering wheel. And the seats slidden back on the rear position. And any bump that I hit in the road, you're thankful it's a soft top, as your head is likely to hit its hood. And all this without mentioning the dreaded word, rust. If you were to park an MX5 for 10 years and leave it there, what would you find? Well, 10 years later, the only sign of a car having been there will be a mountain of rust with a Mazda symbol on top of it. This nemesis of the little MX5 is only worsened by British weather. These cars really need to be garaged, kept dry and away from moisture. If you ever buy an MX5, check the sills and check the arches. And remember that it eats away from the inside out. So you must get under the car and have a good look, poke around. So on face value, it's just a little bit of a letdown. What was all the fuss about? Why did it sell so well? I just felt it to be a bit of a damp squib. Everything it does okay, but not really anything great. But this isn't my first MX5. So what did attract me to buy another one? There has to be something it does better than anything else. And it comes down to my wish list. I wanted a modern classic car. Something from the 80s or 90s to be used as a daily driver, but had to be reliable and great value for money too, as well as easy and cheap to self-maintain. There weren't many options. You see, many of us want to own a classic car, but fear that cars built in the 60s, 70s and even 80s weren't the most reliable and could never be said as ideal daily drivers. And any half-decent car from those eras that I wanted are just too expensive. If you think of the MX5 as an 80s classic car built in the 90s, with great reliability and enough practicality to use daily, as any other two-seater convertible does, that isn't going to cost you a fortune in maintenance, repairs and fuel, then the MX5 sort of makes a case for itself. And for me, it's this that attracts new buyers to the market, that 10 years ago was saturated, but now is seeing Mark 1s being taken off the road at an alarming rate. These once wildly available cars are becoming rarer and rarer by the month. Current national search on Auto Trader at any price only has 15 Mark 1s for sale. So keep the rust away, and my small investment should see a good return in years to come. So I bought it because it's simple, because it's great value, because it's really reliable, and because it's becoming a classic. And it's a convertible too, and it's rear-wheel drive. And when you wrap all those into one single package, suddenly the MX5 makes a really strong case for itself. Oh, and have you ever seen a Mark 1 owner not smiling while he drives? Me neither. Thanks for watching.